So the former president, he's been making the rounds with the media, as you know, even taking questions at the NABJ, which we have to say was met with mixed reaction. But he's now holding a general news conference today, seemingly just because. But do you think all of this is an effort to further double down on what his campaign has been saying for weeks?
Yes, I think there's two things at play when you have Donald Trump out there in the media at NABJ and holding a general news conference with antagonistic media, let's say, that will be there for that one. The first is that he's making a point, a strategic point, that Kamala Harris is, in contrast, completely silent. I mean, they're shouting questions at her, and she and her new VP pick, Tim Walz, are just ignoring them. So there's a clear contrast there that we're starting to see. And I do think that the fact that Kamala Harris isn't taking questions is very important. But the other one is that he thinks that this helps him. The reason Vice President Kamala Harris is not taking questions is because she thinks that potentially that will hurt her. And the reason that Donald Trump is taking questions is because he thinks that that helps him, both with his base and also potentially with independent voters. The race has completely changed over the last couple of weeks since Kamala Harris has become the presumptive nominee. Now, suddenly, Donald Trump is kind of playing from behind. And I think he thinks that this is a way to continue to make up ground.
All right, interesting. So speaking more strategy, J.D. Vance's criticism, we've outlined that Harris hasn't taken questions from reporters. Do you think that criticism is resonating with undecided voters and hurting her campaign, or are those comments only working really to rally their base?
I think that there's actually a different audience with those comments. I think that the audience he's talking to is the media themselves. He's sort of shaming the other media reporters. And we're actually starting to see, I saw a Politico headline today that says, when is Kamala Harris going to start taking questions from the press? Why is she not taking questions from the press? And it actually quoted an anonymous campaign staffer who said she might not do it until after Labor Day in September. I mean, that's insane. And so I think he's sort of, the voters maybe don't care so much about Kamala Harris. Her base doesn't, and maybe even undecided independent voters are not thinking to themselves, why isn't Kamala Harris sitting down with 60 Minutes or some other reporter? But then if the media starts pressing it and they start asking questions, they have a lot of power. And I think if they start shining a spotlight on it, it's going to force a little bit of action on the Democratic side, which right now they are feeling zero pressure to go and sit for an interview because most of the media is not really talking about this. But I think the J.D. Vance strategy is, let's try to get that to change. Let's see if we can kind of shame them into getting Kamala Harris to start answering a few questions from the press.
All right, interesting. So Vance has railed against the media coverage Harris has received thus far, calling it soft, that she doesn't get any hardball questions. The former president has also said on a number of occasions that the media is against him. What do you make of the coverage of the Harris campaign thus far? Do you think the Trump campaign has a point?
Yeah, I think that there has been, I've described it as relief within the media, the larger media establishment. It was an insane July. I think that for anyone who covers the media, this is their job. It was an insane July. And certainly if you're a, let's say, establishment media member who leans more to the left, it was pretty stressful to have Joe Biden there just flailing, and there's questions about whether he's going to drop out and what's the really like behind the scenes cognitive fitness. All of that is just stressful. So I think that there's a little element of relief, but things are going to kind of get back to a level. And the media is a very convenient punching bag, not just for the right, but also for the left. And I do think that we are going to see a little bit of a regression to the norm in the next couple of weeks. Yes, I think that the broader establishment media favors a Kamala Harris ticket or any Democratic ticket, especially when they've got Donald Trump on the other side. But I also think that there's going to be, this is a very long 90 days that we still have before Election Day. There's going to be more than enough time for the left to get angry at the kind of media coverage they get from a curious media that's serving the public, which is really what they should do. That's their job.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.